Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon. We're going to talk about the Ren and Stimpy reboot that literally nobody asked for. We're going to talk about the animation industry and how a lot of people are using the opportunity to have a discussion about a cartoon show that really nobody wanted to promote their own stuff on Twitter. People are using it, of course, to promote their own stuff, their own pitches, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about actually pitching shows and some other animation news. It's kind of interesting. John Lasseter from Disney, remember John Lasseter, who was let go from Disney for getting a little too touchy-feely with some folks over at Pixar, is now stealing Disney talent away for Skydance Animation. We'll talk about that too. We'll just do kind of an animation industry roundup here. Before we get into it, just a reminder, we have about a week to go on the mini crowdfunder for the CLOWNFISH TV enamel pin. First enamel pin we've done. Hopefully it turns out good. I think it's going to. The manufacturer is very reputable, and we're looking forward to getting those done. If you want to get one, they're very limited. When they're gone, they're gone. Go to shopclownfish.com or check out the link in the description below. So I'm going to go with the Cartoon Brew version of this story because I was shocked that they were actually going to go forward with another Ren and Stimpy show, especially, given the situation with John K. John Kricfalusi, who created Ren and Stimpy, had a bit of controversy in recent years. He was involved in a relationship with an underage girl when he was in his 40s. He was supposedly verbally abusive to his staff on Ren and Stimpy. A lot of controversy about the guy. Pretty much was disgraced by the media. And I thought that Viacom would be like, yeah, we don't want anything to do with Ren and Stimpy. But here we are, because, we've already strip mined the 1980s, so now we have to strip mine the 1990s. And this literally is a cartoon that nobody has asked for. They tried to bring Ren and Stimpy back. I remember later they did like an adult version, a more adult version of Ren and Stimpy, and it was pretty forgettable. Most people don't remember it. I watched it like one time. I'm like, yeah, this is trash. So here we go. From Cartoon Brew, nobody asked for a Ren and Stimpy reboot, but Comedy Central is doing it anyway. Viacom can't help itself. Rather than investing in new animation talent, Viacom's cable channels are aggressively pouring all their resources into rebooting vintage properties. Last month, Comedy Central announced that it would resuscitate Beavis and Butthead. Yeah, it's another why? While MTV announced that it would do the same for Phil Lord and Chris Miller's Clone High, today Comedy Central continued the trend by revealing its most ill-advised reboot of the year, an adult remake of Ren and Stimpy. They did this before and it didn't work. This is the second time that the influential early 1990s Nickelodeon Kids series is being rebooted for adults. The first time was in 2003 when Spike TV produced 6 episodes but aired only 3. I was going to say it was very forgettable. Ren and Stimpy's Adult Cartoon Party, or Adult Party Cartoon, an infamous series that is legendary as much for its dysfunctional production, disclosure, the author worked on it, as its incoherent episodes and wildly inconsistent production quality. There will be a key difference between this new production and Adult Party Cartoon. The show's creator, John K., will not be involved in either creatively or financially in the new production because Kricfalusi, 64, was accused of harassment and underage sexual stuff. In a 2018 BuzzFeed expose, he responded with a widely derided letter that acknowledged there was some general truth to the accusations and blamed his behavior on bipolar disorder and ADHD, which he claimed made it almost impossible to control your impulses and obsessions. So they're removing him from the show. They're saying Viacom believes that removing him from the reboot will allow it to sidestep any controversy around the show. Actually, most people, I'm going to be honest, the general public didn't know anything about it. I mean, it's not like he was a household name. The animation industry might know, but he was not a household name. It's kind of the same situation with Warren Ellis. They removed Warren Ellis from Castlevania, but the general public doesn't even know who Warren Ellis is. They have no idea. They might know more about John Lasseter, and we'll talk about him, but Warren Ellis, John K., nobody knows, nobody cares. The general sentiment in the animation industry is that the show's reputation is too damaged by its creators' personal behavior, and that Viacom CBS could have done better by investing in contemporary talent rather than coasting on old IP. Again, the general public does not give a shit. They don't know who he is. They knew Ren and Stimpy was on Nicktoons, and it was a big thing in the 90s, and that is it. If today's reactions on social media are any indication, the reboot may even have a hard time attracting quality talent to work on the production, which could put a dent in Viacom's ambitions to get the show off the ground. They'll just outsource it. They'll just send it overseas. It's already been greenlit. Curiously, the new episodes will be produced by Nickelodeon Animation Studio, which would make this the first time that the studio has produced an animated series expressly geared toward adults. Here's a small but representative sampling of how people in the industry and beyond feel about the idea of Ren and Stimpy. We have Casey Green, who is a web cartoonist. Ren and Stimpy doesn't need to be brought back. Beavis and Butthead doesn't need to be brought back. Clone High doesn't need to be brought back. They had their chances and are interesting relics of the past. There's so many people who have so many new and better ideas for today. I'm going to talk about that because people are using this to basically pitch their shows on Twitter, and I'm going to tell you that doesn't work. As someone who has actually pitched cartoon shows and has actually had a couple of them optioned, not greenlit, but optioned, they paid us for the option, pitching them on Twitter doesn't work. Well, at least it didn't work when we did it. This has been like 5 or 6 years. Who knows? Twitter is apparently the end-all be-all of everything now. So bringing back the legacy of a known, kitty type interested person and serial abuser is incredibly tone deaf. Louis Zong, why the fuck would they bring back Ren and Stimpy? That's the question I'm at. I mean, John K aside, all the stuff that went down with him aside, I don't even understand why they would bring it back. It is very much a product of its time. I just don't understand. And it's not about being tone deaf. I just don't think it's going to work. No, 1,000 times no. Use those resources to make a new show, to find diverse new voices in the animation world and elevate them. They're not going to. Because it's bankable because of the name. Right now, there's a trend to bring back, resuscitate all of these old IP. Again, we've strip mined the 1980s, so now we're going to strip mine the 1990s. And I'm waiting for all newer Doug to show up on Disney+. Doug as an adult, the Doug nobody asked for. Well, the second Doug nobody asked for. I can't imagine a bigger slap in the face for those in the animation industry, especially those who have not only pitched but produced pilots with amazing reception, only to have a stained, outdated title like Ren and fucking Stimpy greenlit. I think that might be on Tumblr. Ren and fucking Stimpy. I love old cartoons as much as anybody, probably more. The original seasons of Ren and Stimpy were incredible. They were. The first couple of years were awesome. But we don't need to dig up the corpses of every 30-year-old show we ever watched in Frankenstein and Back to Life. I agree with that. I do. Chris Nee, I know he's not involved. Don't give a shit. There's no reason to bring it back. Amanda Wong, Animation Studios in June, Black Lives Matter. We care about diversity and equal opportunity. We'll offer training and mentorship and etc., etc. Animation Studios in August. We're bringing back Ren and Stimpy. So yeah, look, it got a lot of backlash. But what's really interesting about it is everybody is using this as an opportunity to pitch their shows. This is not how it works. This is not how it works. Again, at least that's not how it worked when we did it. We did pitch a couple of shows. They did not get greenlit. They did get optioned. We did get paid for the options. So the hashtag is Better Cartoon. Of course, everybody on Tumblr, Twitter, Animation Tumblr, using it to try to get their stuff picked up. I don't think that they understand how this actually works, especially now. And I'm not running people down, right? I get it. But the animation industry, look, animation, any show costs millions of dollars to produce. Very seldom is someone just going to pluck you off of Twitter or Tumblr and say, yep, you know what, we're just going to throw millions of dollars at that. But I can't fault people for trying. So here we have Sound Seekers. We've got updated my website with a new storyboard. Squires for Hire, a fantasy series set in a night punk world full of library nights, postal nights, and bakery nights. The Farbecco family. That actually looks kind of interesting. I don't know what's up with the ape, though. Here's an IP I'm like, everybody's just kind of throwing everything they've got. I don't know if they're like art school students or what, but I don't know if it's wise to, I'm going to be honest, to tip your hand and put all of that out there on Twitter. Because, you know, what could happen is somebody could, I mean, realistically, somebody could run off with the idea or take part of the idea and be like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. We were never pitched. I mean, usually when you pitch a show, you go through the proper channels. So, you know, they can't just run off with the idea. There's a paper trail. You pitch to XYZ studio. They can't really do something similar because there is a trail. If you're just throwing it out there on the internet, you know, you're kind of asking for trouble, in my opinion. Island Gal actually has it right. A lot of these better cartoon would look expensive as hell to animate and hard to sell merchandise. Yeah, that's a factor. These studios, they actually look at that. I know it's nice to think that they would love to just take your webcomic and turn it into a show. You know, look what happened with High Guardian Spice. Where'd it go? Where did High Guardian Spice go? But, you know, the reality is a lot of these studios want to recoup their costs with merchandise, and Ren Stimpy merch, the 90s is definitely coming back. 90s are coming back. So they're probably thinking, yeah, we can sell the hell out of retro Ren and Stimpy merch. We got a new show. It's money in the bank. You know, that's just how it works. Seriously, my problem with most better cartoon pitches is that most of them are made out of spite and they all feel kind of samey. Only a select few stand out, but they're all too familiar and feel like knockoff Steven Universe and Gravity Falls. They do. I'm going to be honest. I'm going through them, and there are a few that stand out, but most of them look like, yeah, Gravity Falls and absolutely Steven Universe. There's a lot of Steven Universe in here. That's kind of interesting, but how would you animate that? You know, this is very Steven Universe. It's just very, very samey. Maybe they're all from Cal Arts. Who knows? Who knows? But, you know, it's interesting. The John K. Respecter said, I searched better cartoon just to see how many of them would be woke. And it was almost the first 4 results. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is who goes to art school. This is who wants to get into animation. This is the thing. Though I will say that I do like the blue and orange color palette, for sure. Are they all woke? I don't know. Would you sell merchandise for any of these shows? I don't think so. I mean, it might be a cool show, but I don't know if you're going to sell merchandise. Look how Steven Universe was relatively popular, but it doesn't sell merch at all. It really doesn't. You know, we saw the Steven Universe McFarlane Lego knockoffs were going for $1 or $2 a box. They sat there for months at some of our local Walmarts. Nobody bought them. Now, what's really interesting is that there were some unique shows. I gotta bring this up. Dungeon Crawlers was canceled by Nickelodeon. Here was a pitch for it, and it's actually out on YouTube. I'll put a link to that. You can check it out. This is actually one that they spent the money to produce a pilot, and they never produced the show. And this happens a lot. You know, once you get optioned, even if you get a green light, it's usually for a pilot. Even, you know, look at Steven Universe. They had a pilot for Steven Universe, and it was very different from the final show. Adventure Time, same thing. Adventure Time actually was Nickelodeon originally, and then it wound up going to Cartoon Network. But these shows are incredibly expensive to produce. So, you know, they're going to go with something that, you know, they think they can merchandise. But yeah, the show actually looked pretty good. And especially now with RPGs being big, you would think they would possibly maybe go back to something like this, but they didn't. There's a petition out there to get Nickelodeon to take another look at it. So I can put a link to that too. But yeah, I mean, even if shows get far enough to get a pilot, it doesn't mean they're going to get picked up. I just think it's funny that everyone's like, I can do better than Ren and Stimpy. And I understand there's baggage attached to it, but these look, the people who are cutting the checks are looking at brand recognition right now, and you know, there are new shows getting picked up. A lot of them are actually being picked up though by veteran showrunners or their reboots. You know, it's just kind of how it goes. Now, this was interesting if you want to talk about cartoons and potentially problematic people. Skydance Animation, which they stole John Lasseter away from Disney. Well, actually, he was out the door at Disney. They never gave a particular reason other than he was too touchy-feely with some of the folks at Disney and some of the celebrities they worked with. But he just nabbed another Disney bigwig. Like, Disney's not going to have anybody left. And, you know, say what you will about John Lasseter, about you know, whether or not you feel it was justified that he got gone. John Lasseter was absolutely steering the ship for the Disney Renaissance in the last, you know, 10, 15 years. He was, you know, the big cheese at Pixar, and, you know, Lasseter was kind of, his fingerprints were all over everything Disney did of the last decade and a half that really put them back on top in regards to animation. He's gone, and he's taken Disney people with him. He grabbed Shane Prigmore from Disney Television Animation. His team was responsible for DuckTales, Big City Greens, Amphibia, The Owl House, which I actually like quite a bit, as well as the upcoming Curse of Molly McGee, Phineas and Ferb the movie, Monsters at Work, and Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So yeah, he's, you know, another big shot at Disney, and he's going to Skydance. So this is going to be really interesting to see what they come up with, for sure. And if people are going to remember the John Lasseter fiasco, I don't know if people will. Again, animators, people who work in animation are not household names, you know. So, you know, back to Ren and Stimpy, it doesn't, people outside the animation industry, nobody knows. Nobody knows what went down with John Kay. Nobody cares. I just think it's dumb that they are, you know, Nickelodeon, which used to be, you know, one of the best channels out there for animation. They always had really innovative stuff. Is just going back to the same well again and again and again and again. But it, you know, given the cost of the shows, given the economy right now, I don't know if I can blame them, you know, because the bean counters are absolutely in charge. So I'm gonna wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.